Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Pathfinder Enhanced video we have a Barbarian build, this time with Instinctual Warrior, for way more armor class while also dual wielding high critical range weapons, and most importantly the Demon Mythic path, which is very thematic. The Demon path probably has the potential for one of the highest bursts of damage, even for spellcasters too, so you'll definitely be cleaving through the enemies with your dual wielded scimitars, especially when charging. Your Mythic rage will also stack with your Barbarian rage for even more rage power. You'll be doing something like 200 to 300 damage on a normal hit and 600 plus on criticals, with around 10 dual wielded scimitar attacks, not counting your natural hits too, up to 2 bites and a gore. Thanks to Instinctual Warrior, you can also achieve very high armor class, although you can also rely on reach if you prefer. So without further ado, let us get into our Barbarian Demon build. Alright, so for this guide I have chosen the Barbarian and Instinctual Warrior archetype. For my last Barbarian guide I already went with Mad Dog, and to be fair, it is still the one I prefer over them all because you get a pet at level 1 and pets are OP, I'm afraid it's as simple as that. But anyways, in the spirit of trying out different things, this time you'll be going with Instinctual Warrior. It's actually one of the Barbarian archetypes with most unique features. First, your main rage ability will not only increase your attack rolls, but also your wisdom. As a matter of fact, this class has great synergy with wisdom. First, you add your wisdom modifier to your initiative rolls as early as level 1, then at level 2, you get the biggest benefit. Cunning Illusion, which lets you add your wisdom bonus to armor class just like a monk, and you even get bonuses to AC too. And just like a monk, you have to be unarmored for this, which fits the whole barbarian aesthetic anyways, you just need a loincloth. Besides that, you also get all of the blind fight feats for free, which is great because blind fight is a must-have eventually for almost any melee build. Now your main downside is that you have less rage powers than the normal, and also at somewhat different progression. You end up losing 3 rage powers in total. This isn't much of a penalty, because you can just have a SKALD to supply not only your barbarian but also your whole party members with the rage powers that you cannot pick. As far as race, well, I recommend you go with human as usual. In my defense, it's been a while since the last human build. Plus lore-wise, I'm pretty sure barbarians are mostly humans and orcs and so on. Humans have the extra feat at level 1, which can help a lot because barbarians are quite feat starved, they don't really have any bonus feats. And this time we'll be going dual wielding, which has an even bigger feat tax. For the background, it's the usual street urchin and pickpocket, the other ones don't really add anything special to you in the grand scheme. As far as ability scores, strength is your main attribute even when dual wielding. You want 19 at character creation. You also need some dexterity to dual wield. What I recommend you do now is dump both intelligence and charisma. It's certainly very in line for a barbarian character. Then get 16 dexterity. 15 is actually enough to qualify for the first dual wielding feat. The other ones you can get as always through belts that enhance dexterity. The reason I go with 16 is because we'll have some leftover points. Plus, your dexterity modifier will also be added to your AC, it's not just wisdom. And speaking about wisdom, go with either 14 and then 14 constitution, or leave constitution at 12, dexterity at 15 and get 16 wisdom. I would much rather have it this way here. Wisdom is pretty easy to increase through a lot of other buffs and stuff that you'll be getting. As far as skill points, athletics because of high strength. I don't think use magic device is necessary for this build, I mean, we are just a raging demonic barbarian. Scrolls are for mages. Perception since you have some wisdom, and you might as well leave the leftover point for mobility. Now as far as your level 1 feat, since you'll be dual wielding, 2-weapon fighting is a must-have. And then I would already get started in 2-weapon focus. You actually can go with 3 weapons, basically the one-handed ones with the highest critical range, so kukri, rapier or scimitar. I'll be going with scimitars because the other 2 don't really fit a barbarian in my opinion. Plus you have plenty of powerful scimitars in the game. Weapon focus early can help when it comes to overcoming the annoying dual wielding penalty. Also remember, if you are on unfair, since scimitars are treated as heavy weapons, if you want more AP early on for your double attacks, get a scimitar on your main hand and then for the offhand, a light weapon. For deity, I would go with Gorum, who is the god of battle, and since we are going demon, chaotic evil. Now when it comes to multiclassing, I might as well cover this already. You can theoretically go with Monk, just one level, because they also have an ability to add Wisdom to AC. The problem is, well, the classes are actually very incompatible, both lore and gameplay-wise. For starters, Monks have to be lawful, and Barbarians must be chaotic instead. I suppose theoretically you could start as one, then change your alignment in-game, get the other one, and, well, since you're going Demon, you would have to be chaotic eventually. It's a bit tricky and annoying to do, and I honestly don't think it's needed. Even as just an Instinctual Warrior, we can achieve higher than ATKS with this build. For level 3, Combat Reflexes. It's not really needed so early, it's just that our other feats are already set in stone, so you might as well get this now. At level 4, increase Strength, which is also what you want to increase on all of the other levels. Now, your rage power selection is going to depend on whether you have a SKALD party member or not. Having one is still very optimal, even for a Barbarian, because you can then combine some rage powers. Plus the SKALD rage benefits will also stack with focused rage. If you don't have a SKALD, so it's just your Barbarian, what you want first is Lethal Stance, then for the next 3, all of the Beast Totem line. Ideally you would multi-class into something else after that, I'll be covering it, or you could keep your character pure too, in which case you would then get Animal Fury, Deadly Accuracy, and later Lethal Accuracy. If you already have a SKALD party member, I would then start with Animal Fury. Amusingly enough, this will stack if you have a SKALD, so it's 2 extra bite attacks, or just 1 if it's just your Barbarian. Still, an extra attack per round is great. Also note that through normal feats, you can choose extra rage powers. For our level 5 feat, as always, Outflank. A must-have for any melee, even ranged builds, especially dual-wielding characters. For level 7, improved 2-weapon fighting for the second offhand attack. Now, you could already get the lunge feat. I'd much rather enlarge your Barbarian through the enlarge person spell first, and delay lunge for later. Plus, as an Instinctual Warrior, we have higher AC anyways. For your second rage power, well, you would get started into the Beast Totem line now if you didn't have a SKALD. Otherwise, you have a few different choices now. Ideally, something fun you can do is go for the Demon Totem, and then the normal Demon Totem at level 10. The problem is, as far as I have tested, this appears to be bugged, for Instinctual Warrior specifically. I'm not sure why, but it is. I was not getting the level drain on critical hit effects. You can also go for Reckless Stance and Inspire Ferocity. The problem is, it works in a bit of a janky way with Lethal Stance. So let's say your SKALD shares Lethal Stance to the party and your Barbarian has Reckless Stance. For the first round of battle they will stack, but for the second round onwards, one of them will turn itself off and only another will remain in effect. There's not actually much we can get if you already have a SKALD. Fin Totem is rather poor. The Gore attack won't stack with the Close to the Abyss First Ascension mythic ability. There's also Guarded Stance, but I suppose it has the same issue as combining Lethal with Reckless. Well, as I said, the first round of battle is what really matters anyways, so you might as well go with Reckless Stance, because at least this can be shared with party members too. For level 9, improved critical, and your weapon of choice, in my case, Scimitars. So now we have 15 to 20 critical range with both our main and offhand. For your level 10 rage power, if you went with Reckless Stance, Inspire Ferocity. Or if you didn't have a SKALD, you would be getting the second Beast Totem now. For level 11, greater 2-weapon fighting to cap out our offhand attacks at 3, through feats anyways. Now, I would personally leave your Instinctual Warrior at just 11 levels, because the other benefits, they take forever to get, and like I said, I already have a SKALD, so I don't need the extra rage powers. Your next rage upgrade only comes at level 20, very late. And it's not that much of an upgrade over the greater focused rage. I suppose tireless rage can be useful, so you become immune to fatigue after your rage ends. The problem is it also takes a while to get, only at level 17, and to me, if you've managed to stand the annoying fatigue penalty for like more than half the game, you can certainly do it again for the last 10% of the game or so. Plus, removing fatigue is pretty easy eventually. Characters like Darren, for example, have a very high amount of lesser restoration slots to use on your Barbarian. Anyways, the way to go now for me is Fighter and Mutation Warrior. Mostly because there are a lot of feats that we need. The Mutagen is always amazing and so is Weapons Training. But like I said before, you can also keep your Instinctual Warrior pure. For your first fighter bonus feat, well, you might as well get lunge already. The higher your reach, the longer the distance you can put between yourself and the enemies. Plus it also has great synergy with attacks of opportunity from outflank. For level 13, power attack, we get it somewhat late because the bonus to damage isn't as high when dual wielding. Plus at this point you have more than enough buffs to attack rolls to make up for the penalty. And then double slice. After all, at this point you already have maximum offhand attacks. For level 15, we get 2 feats, and what we want now is Dazzling Display and Shatter Defenses, as always just in time for all of my other builds, and the Frightful Aspect spell, which makes proccing this super easy, even against Demon Lords. For your weapon training, be sure to pick Heavy Blades, as Scimitars are part of this group. Now, since you already have what you really wanted from Mutation Warrior, I would go for the classic Ranger and Demon Slayer dip for the +2 bonus against demons. Then weapon specialization Scimitar. I would then resume progression into Mutation Warrior until level 20. Remember that, as I said in the beginning of this video, you can pick a level into Monk, but it's pretty annoying to do. For level 18, improved initiative. It's not needed so early, because we already have an ability to increase our initiative anyways. For 19, you actually already have almost everything you could want. So in a way, human isn't exactly needed. You can go with toughness for more hit points, although at this point it's not that needed. There's improved critical and bite. And you can go for greater blind fight too, since we got the other 2 from normal class progression. Anyways, I'll just be picking improved and bite. And of course you could pick this earlier if you prefer, depending on how many bites you're stacking. Speaking about bites, Feral Mutagen at last, which also grants another bite attack. As for your last level, Fighter 8 allows us to get greater weapon focus and then your weapon of choice. Alright, now let us cover Mythic progression for our Barbarian Demon. Well, for your first ascension you certainly want Close to the Abyss, very thematic for this build, and the extra gore attack is amazing. For your first Mythic ability, as with almost any rage character, definitely limitless rage, so you can turn this on forever and ever. You'll still be fatigued at the end. You can restore fatigue to, let's say, the Lesser Restoration spell or Sila's Mercy ability. If you were on Unfair, well, you might consider picking Last Stand even before Limitless Rage, because double damage taken is very annoying. For Mythic 2 weapon fighting to reduce our dual wielding penalties. For 3, the classic Ever Ready, and this build can get a lot of attacks of opportunity and also generate even more for your party members, since we are dual wielding high critical range weapons with many attacks. For Mythic level 4, the classic Mythic Critical Scimitar. Now we also get to pick our first demonic aspect, and please remember that I already have a complete demon guide, link to the side here or in the pinned comment down below, where I explain all of these in depth. For now, I'll keep it simple. The first one is almost always going to be Aspect of Calavacus. It is by far one of the cheesiest aspects. Whenever you charge during demonic rage, you can attempt to disarm the enemy. Also, whenever you make a combat maneuver, you get a free attack against the enemy, and disarming is a combat maneuver, so it's essentially a free attack, plus it also enhances your AC by a stacking natural boost. For Mythic 5, speaking about charging, Mythic Charge. Regardless of whether you have a SKALD or not, you can still get the Pounce ability by just your Barbarian Rage powers for full attacks when charging, so charge is very powerful for this character overall. For your second aspect, to me, Sheer, because we get not only an extra bonus to melee attack rolls, but also the powerful charge ability for even higher damage when charging. For your first major aspects, Mythic 5 for Demon is when they really get a nice boosting power. Pick Balor to share Demonic Rage with your allies. It's a pretty strong stacking party-wide boost for both attack damage, caster level, even for DC. And for the second major aspect, Vavakia for the huge bonus to strength. For Mythic 6, Mythic Power Attack at last. And then Aspect of Incubus. For Mythic 7, we actually already have the best Mythic abilities by now. You can go for Last Stand if you didn't pick it before, or Delayed for Mythic 9. There's also Unrelenting Assault. Amazingly enough, if you want higher AC, something fun you can do is pick Archmage Armor, because it still works whenever you cast it through a potion or a scroll, for even higher boosts to AC, especially since we can't wear armor anyways. For the third demonic aspect, Shadow Demon because of the bonus to Wisdom, which has synergy with our abilities. The other minor aspects don't really matter, pick anything you want. You'll just be using Incubus, Sheer, and Calavacus. For Mythic 8, Well, you have 3 choices, but you only get to pick 2 of them, one at 8 and the other at 10 for Mythic feats. Mythic Weapon Specialization for +5 to damage with your scimitars, Mythic Weapon Focus for +2 to attack rolls, and also Mythic Initiative. As this character can already get a lot of bonuses to Initiative, I don't think Mythic Initiative is as needed, so I would just go for Mythic Specialization and later Mythic Focus. For Mythic 9, you might as well pick Last Stand if you didn't pick it before. There's also always a chance. Now, for your first Demon Lord aspect, since we are a Raging Barbarian, I think Pazuzu fits it better. Just remember not to say Pazuzu 3 times in a row. Anyways, it grants you an additional attack that, by the way, does stack with haste. The more attacks you have, the better. As for Mythic 10, to me, Mythic Weapon Focus. And for your second major aspect, you might as well go with Nocticula because it's quite efficient. Being able to provide all of your demonic rage bonuses, including the aspects, which Balor does not do, can be very powerful. It only affects a single ally, but even then it's free per demonic rage. Alright, now let us cover gear for our Barbarian Demon. It's the usual package for dual wielding characters, so the amulet, of course, Valexius. We want as high strength as possible. When it comes to armor, if you want to get as high AC as possible while taking advantage of your Instinctual Warrior bonuses from Wisdom, you can't wear any armor at all. On the other hand, if you don't care for AC, go with the classic Chainmail of Camaraderie for the bonus damage when flanking, great for dual wielding characters. As far as robes, Wandering Command is by far the best for the bonus to attacks of opportunity, but you can also go for the Robe of the Sea Mage for higher caster level, just to get higher duration with some of your demon buffs. But very early you can also go for the Shirt of Blazing Fighter, just for the bonus to athletics and fire resistance. For belts, at first belts that increase strength, then I'd say strength and dexterity, since we have synergy with armor class, but ultimately you can just go for perfection belts for all of physical scores. For gloves, as always, Fencer's Gift, not only because it empowers your offhand attack, we can deal more than 100 damage when raging, but since we are also a fighter, it gives you a very powerful +2 bonus to weapon training too. If you want as high AC as possible, run X Sacrifice, it will enhance your dexterity, and also provide a lot of extra bonuses to AC from haste. Plus we also have mobility and athletics as class skills. For helmets, at first helmets that increase wisdom, ultimately you can go for mental perfection ones for all mental stats. For glasses, I prefer the goggles of Piercing Gaze here for the bonus damage and attack rolls against outsiders. Now for the cloak, at first cloaks of resistance, but eventually you definitely want the Demon Mythic Cloak, because it lets your demon aspects and rage abilities scale past the cap, which results in a little bit more bonuses to stats. For the rings, I like the Ring of Guiding Star for this build. We can get a lot of initiative, even without Mythic Initiative, but you can also go for Rings of Evasion as you'll have very high saving throws overall. The second ring, as always, is going to be the Ring of Triumphant Advance. Nothing is as good as this, for even higher bonuses to AB and damage. For the braces, you have 2 choices. Since you can't really wear armor, well, you can, but it's going to reduce your AC. You can first go with Braces of Armor, or, and this is for when you get the Mythic Mage Armor ability, you can just go for Potions of Mage Armor instead. This then frees the slot for the Braces of Heavy Hand for even higher offhand damage when dual wielding. Now let us cover weapons and quick slots. I went with scimitars, although rapiers are also very solid weapons for this build. For scimitars, please remember that I already have a guide with their full progression that you can check to the side here or in the video description, but the best ones overall are for the main hand, Dawnflower's Kiss. It already has Holy, and as a demon, you can enchant it with a lot of other stuff like Evolved Cider Bane, Living Bane, plus whenever you get a critical hit, you get even further bonuses to attacks and even an extra maximum attack. It really is that good. For the offhand, the Speed Scimitar. Speed weapons are usually the best offhand slot for any dual wielding character, because they grant you an extra attack. By default this will not stack with the haste spell, but here's the thing, haste only adds an extra attack to the main hand, which means we can still benefit from the offhand speed property. I'm not quite sure where you can get this one. I think it's somewhere around chapter 3. I ended up selling mine because back then I didn't know how good it was. So later I got it back again. For quick slots, Lucky Dice can always help. It's just a minor boost, but pretty much permanent. Potions of Mage Armor once again. Extend and Lesser Extend Metamagic Rods just for some of your demon buffs. Mostly Life Bane. The Signet of House Vespertilio as usual for any skill of choice. You can actually get very high ranks in all of your skills, so athletics, mobility, and perception, because of the demon aspect boosts. As a matter of fact, if you want to use scrolls, because of all of the extra bonuses you'll be adding, especially from demon aspects, you can just get 1 rank each use magic device. Jarsigax, the Dragon Familiar, is amazing for extra damage. It's not just 1d4 because you can add a lot of extra stuff to it. I already have a lot of pet builds, so for this one I wanted something different, but you can always give your non-pet character a pet through the Triceratops statuette. Well, alright friends, so this was it for my Demon Instinctual Warrior guide. If you found it useful, please remember to like, subscribe, and also consider becoming a channel member. Your support really helps the channel keep on going. Thank you for watching, and see you next time, friends.